You know who he didn't bring up for the upcoming college football weekend?
No, who's that?
The Michigan Wolverines, John. And not because they're on upset alert. ECU, I think, is going to be pretty bad this year. But the storyline of Michigan's offense and J.J. McCarthy's second season. Will they open it up? Do you need to open it up to eventually win a national title? And my question would be, without Jim Harbaugh in the first 3 games on game day, is there a chance that J.J. gets a little more loose, throws a few more passes, develops a little more as a downfield thrower? I think J.J. McCarthy's a fascinating storyline for the season. I don't know about this weekend, but for the season. And
Here's
John,
another guy that
where
I think
do you
has
place
really
him
good value.
among these college football
It's diminishing a
quarterbacks?
little bit because they know he's probably going to be released.
But where would you slot him? Like J.J. McCarthy is a blank
I think
quarterback
he's going
in
to be an
college
odd man
football.
out.
And is that good enough to win a national title?
Has performed well, but
So I'll start
you have
a little
from
bit
now
more
until
general and
Tuesday
say,
to
I
try and
believe
get
he's a top
something
10.
in return for Julian Okwara.
I'm not going to say top 5. So he's
Receiver out there
somewhere
that you
in my
believe
mind
can give
6,
you
7.
another
Could he
weapon,
be
another
a
option.
top 5 quarterback
that maybe
in
another team is
college
looking.
football?
Hey, we want to talk about
is in college football
this season. I don't want to get into the debate of NFL, prospects, all that stuff. Yeah, he certainly can. And I'm curious how the first 3 games will go, especially since, and I love Sharon Moore as offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. We know what he's done. I know you have experience with him at Central Michigan. Rising star, future, I think, very good head coach at the college football level. But he's not going to be there either. The offensive coordinator is going to be Kirk Campbell, quarterback coach, and he's been an offensive coordinator. He spent some time as an analyst and I think as an assistant at Penn State. I know it's definitely as an analyst. Offensive coordinator at ODU, was an analyst under Jim Harbaugh's staff last year, and now he's quarterback coach, thrust into calling plays due to the suspensions of Jim Harbaugh and Sharon Moore. And I do think there's a chance that if he is given the parameters, or if the parameters are, hey, you do you. You be you and call the plays as you would, collectively putting the game plan together with Sharon Moore and Jim Harbaugh, because they're all there in the building doing the collaborative, coaching thing. I think it'll be interesting to see if in the second quarter, if they're up by 21, or up by a substantial margin, are you handing the ball off and trying to build some stats for a Blake Corum or a Donovan Edwards, or are you, airing it out, trying to work things out in the passing game, but also the quarterback coach, hey, I want to see what my quarterback can do.
Michigan has shown they can run over people. They don't have to attempt a pass on Saturday, and they will win the game. But it does behoove them to get J.J. McCarthy to the, quote, next level, however you define that. Because, John, I don't think they developed the passing game much at all last season. And when they played Ohio State, J.J. balled out. That was the first time he had to make throws down the field, and he did. He's got the mobility, he can extend the plays, and he's got a howitzer on his right shoulder. He has the tools, but I don't think they've really harnessed what he could be. And when they played the playoff game, that was the erratic J.J. McCarthy. That was... people throw out the Josh Allen comparison. I think Harbaugh did, and whatever. There's an erratic nature to the way Josh Allen played. They have to harness JJ better. And the challenge is with a non-con schedule that is this.
Less than desirable.
You're going to be up 28-0 before you know it. So do you continue to throw? Do you continue to try to get him to that next level? Because, John, I think he can be a top 10 quarterback in college football. Can he be a top 5 quarterback in college football? Because if he is, now you talk about programs that couldn't break through the SEC, like Clemson. Remember, they kept running into Alabama?
Yeah.
And like, okay, it's Dabo, but they can't get through. Deshaun Watson, you break through, you beat Bama, you win a national title. Trevor Lawrence, you break through, you beat Bama, soundly, by the way, and win a national title. It's not Bama now, it's Georgia, but the same principle applies. Can Michigan, a non-SEC team, beat the powerhouse SEC school? And I don't think the answer is line up in the eye and run it for 3 yards at a time. You can get away with that against Bowling Green and ECU, and you can do it against Ohio State, much to your joy as a former offensive lineman. But for them to win a national title, I do think some of this comes down to where is JJ at, and can he be a top 5 quarterback in the sport?
Well, and so all things being equal, as a former offensive lineman, I love, hey, pound the ball, let's get 6 yards, line it up, let's get another 6 first down, and you move down the field. But what I love even more is 50 and 70-yard chunks. I like those one-play drives where you're looking around. Your biggest concern is you're looking around, making sure there's no yellow laundry, and so you can go celebrate in the end zone. Those are my most favorite. And so it doesn't matter how you get it done. Yeah, I would love to see Donovan Edwards go 75-85 again against Ohio State. I'm not going to count on that. I would love to see Cornelius Johnson go for a couple of touchdowns like Ohio State. But I'm not going to count on that. But you've got to develop those things now so that you know that you have them for future games. And it all comes down to the development of J.J. McCarthy. And when we come back, I do want to ask you the question if I think he's a top 10 quarterback. I'm not willing to put him in the top 5 yet. I want to know who you have in that category, in that realm, not necessarily from 1 to 5. I want to know
10.
who they are there, where you have JJ, and what it takes for him to get into that conversation.
Great. And I want to hear from people. Where is JJ McCarthy in college football heading into the season, and where is the ceiling for him? Because I think it's tethered to the program. It's 97-1.
Brought to you by National Benefit Plans. The free fall continues for the Tigers. They lose the 7th game of their 10-game homestand with 1 more to go. Opener Brendan White and Joey Wentz unable to keep New York in the park. They went deep 3 more times, and White went less than an inning to begin the game, cruising through the first 2 batters, and then it kind of all fell apart from there. Yeah, also a little bit odd, Jose Cisnero pitched 4 outs despite being on waivers. He had 3 strikeouts. Spencer Torkelson also added on to his team-leading home run total with number 24 in the 6th inning. The Yankees ended a 10-series winless streak by taking the last 3 games. They'll finish up the set at Comerica Park this afternoon. The Lions lose 1 promising young player to waivers, Arizona claiming Starling Thomas after a strong preseason. Detroit able to sign Dylan Drummond and Chase Lucas to their practice squad with 8 others, including kicker Michael Badgley, who was on the team last year. Quite the scene in Lincoln yesterday as over 92,000 fans packed into the football stadium for a volleyball match. The world record was broken for number of people at a women's sporting event, and also the Red Wings will play around 13 nationally televised games on ESPN and TNT this upcoming season. That includes their opener in New Jersey, which will be exclusively on ESPN Plus and Hulu. At the Ticket Update Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
The question, where is JJ now and where will JJ be at the end of the season? That's more important. Rank him among college quarterbacks as we kick the season off, because I think as he goes, Michigan goes. John, they're good enough to win the Big Ten. They're back-to-back Big Ten champs. But to win a national title, can he do what Watson and Lawrence did at Clemson? Can he do that at Michigan? Dethrone the SEC juggernaut. He can't be the 10th best quarterback in the sport. I think he'd have to be in that top 5. I'm not telling you got to win the Heisman, but he's got to be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the sport, I think, for Michigan to win the national title.
And it's not just as a passer. It's the complete player that you need to have at the college level to be elite. And that is, yes, you have to be efficient as a passer. You have to be able to get the ball downfield effectively and create some of those explosive plays, but you also have to be a good decision maker and use your legs, whether it's the read option. Do I hand it off? Do I keep it? All of those different things, the decision-making process at that point, and then it's the decision, I'm under pressure a little bit. What do I do? Do I try and chuck it deep? Do I have somebody I can hit, or do I extend the play? When do I tuck it and run it? All of those different things. If you have that quarterback, and we've seen this many times, against the teams that Michigan State, your Chips have played against, when you have a quarterback that it's 3rd and 10, and you are worried about them completing anything 11 plus, it's hard to defend that in general. But then you also can't find a way to corral him, keep him in the pocket. You cover everybody downfield. Then he picks it up with his feet.
Correct.
That's where you become a true elite danger as a quarterback.
So J.J. McCarthy last season ended with some big performances. Now, the turnovers in TCU are not to be glossed over, but he had 4 touchdowns against Ohio State when you count the rushing touchdown, 4 against the Buckeyes, 3 against Purdue, and 3 against TCU. If he can take that, build on that, and be a guy who's scoring 3-4 touchdowns a game against anybody, not just the easy Hawaii games on the schedule, but like the big games down the stretch again, he could end up in the top 10. John, here's my top 10 as we go into the season. Caleb Williams, number 1. Michael Penix, number 2. Drake May, number 3. You could debate 2 and 3, but that kind of feels like the high end of the sport going into the season. Then I have 2 quarterbacks who are on teams that I think could crash the dance and challenge to win the whole thing. Jordan Travis at Florida State and Jaden Daniels at LSU. That's my top 5. JJ's not in that. If he gets there, Michigan is a national title team. If he doesn't, and you face a Georgia in the playoff, I don't know that they're winning. 6 to me right now is Sam Hartman. I have a couple Pac-12 quarterbacks, 7 and 8. You can fight about them, but Cam Rising and Bo Nix. Dylan Gabriel is number 9. Frank Harris, UTSA, is number 10, and I would have JJ just outside that top 10. He's got to do it more, developed more consistently.
That's the first Bo Nix mention of the year. He's back playing college football again.
Well, some of these guys, like Frank Harris is year 7.
And Sam Hartman is in year 6.
I know. It's just for Bo Nix is that guy for me when I hear. I'm just like, seriously, I got enough already.
So, I mean, fringe top 10 is where I'd have JJ, but I think for Michigan to be the complete national title team they want to be, he's got to be top 5.
I agree with that. I think that it's pretty simple with him. It's turnovers. It is. You go to TCU, you go, nitpick the Michigan State loss. Two of the 3 losses they've had since JJ's been playing. You could almost
ball security.
But laying the ball on the ground, that wasn't on him. That was on Blake Corum.
Okay, yeah. But I think here's the deal. He needs to recognize when he needs to dial it down and be a game manager and not try to play hero ball.
Right. It comes down to decision making.
Yeah, and we haven't quite seen that consistently yet. I guess maybe the game to pick last year would have been the Illinois game. They were in trouble. They lost Corum that game.
Yeah.
They were, and he didn't screw it up. Okay, sometimes that's how you have to play. Against Georgia, you can't do that, play that way. But there will be a game this year that none of us see on the schedule that'll be challenging, and you'll get into a situation where you can't do something stupid.
Yeah, I have him more, like I said, I've got him as a top 10 guy.
Okay.
It's more in the 7-8 range. And I have, and I'm not going to even put them in direct order because I don't want to necessarily debate 1 and 2.
Whatever.
Caleb Williams, Drake May, they're both going to be contending right there for that number 1 spot. Bo Nix, I think, is a top 5 quarterback. There's your second reference, Tom. Jaden Daniels at LSU is up there. Michael Penix, I would put Michael Penix more in the next tier where I would have JJ. Michael Penix to me is a guy that has had some turnover issues, has had some health issues. Like you've got to be able to. That's a quality. I feel that is a major quality, especially for a team like Washington. That is their entire season is based on what Michael Penix Jr. can do, and I think can he be a really good quarterback? A lot of people have him projected as a top 10 pick next year in the draft. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, he needs to stay healthy, which he did last year, and it's why he had that breakout performance. I mean, he was a playmaker at Indiana.
Yeah. Sam Hartman, I put him right there. He's more of a prolific passer, but you've got to look, okay, well, he did it in the ACC. He did it at Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to rack up some numbers if you're a good passer. And what we saw last week against Navy are equality. Mm-hmm. But against Navy, and I'm not really ready to crown him, hey, Notre Dame is going to be a national title contender because they have Sam Hartman, who actually is 24 years old. And
older than Trey Lance, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So JJ to me is right there in that 7-8 category. To get into the top 5, to surpass guys like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, you've got to be able to do everything that I mentioned before. Is you You got to be able to hand the ball off, and that's not a great skill, but putting your team in a position of advantage at the snap of the ball, I think JJ will have those decisions, the ability to make those decisions at the line of scrimmage, make some audibles is basically what I'm saying. And then it's, hey, when it's a run audible, making sure you're going the right direction, make sure you communicate that. But then if it's a run pass option, RPOs, or the read option, making those decisions. And then when its decision is to keep it, you need to see something special with his feet. We keep hearing about how great of an athlete he is, how elusive he can be, how he can extend plays, how he can be, basically that extra running back. Well, let's see it on a regular basis. And I don't want to, go through a season with, well, we don't want to run him because we don't want him to get hurt. We don't want him to bang up his shoulder. Like all these other, Jaden Daniels is a guy that's going to run the ball.
Yep.
And that's going to be a huge part of their offense. It needs to be a huge part of this offense. And then you start talking about just as a pure passer, we've heard about the strength of his arm. We've heard about the accuracy, the fact that he can go deep. He should be able to go deep on a regular basis. All right, let's see it. It's one of those, you have to show it. I have to see it to believe it. And then you start moving up the list. But right now, he's not done anything to say, I should be in that top 5.
No. Neither of us have him top 5. You have him top 10. I have him borderline top 10. The skill set is there.
Yeah.
It needs to show. And Michigan has to let him show it too, despite the schedule. Develop this guy because it's your pathway to a title. Ticket texters. McCarthy did not ball out against Ohio State last year. He made like 3 big plays. Please, he's a cocky punk. He's going to get punched in the mouth this year. Okay, making 3 big plays is part of balling out.
Yeah.
Am I missing something here? He only made 3 massive plays in his first year as a starter at the Horseshoe to beat Ohio State.
They were wide open, Jim.
Okay, well, thank you.
I don't really believe that.
Texter says, McSizzle couldn't hold Lawrence's helmet. I made the comparison. You got to try to be a Trevor Lawrence to win it. Texter says, McCarthy is top 25 in college football. He will become top 10 if he cuts down on costly turnovers. That's from Will on the ticket text. That's something we've talked about. 248-539-9797. He says JJ's already a top-tier quarterback, or Michigan wouldn't be ranked number 2 in the country. He proved himself last year. John, am I wrong to say he has more to prove? I think you agree with that.
Yeah, he's got more. He's got a lot more to prove.
Right.
And, is he a top-tier quarterback? And why is Michigan ranked number 2? Well, Michigan's ranked number 2 because they have a dominant offensive line, because they have experience coming back at the quarterback position to,
they have the best backfield in college football.
Who's got a better backfield?
Nobody.
You got Colston Level and a tight end. Now, you do need to see something more from the receivers. Some of that's on the quarterback. Some of that's on the receivers.
And the coaching to get the passing game going.
Right. And defensively, they've been very fortunate on the offensive line and on defense to get some key transfers. I think Ernest Hausman in the linebacker position is going to be a key transfer. Josiah Stewart, a defensive end, undersized,
I like him.
but he is as quick as you're going to find off the ball. And these guys can be difference makers.
For people who don't know, Josiah Stewart is a total college football nerd pickup for Michigan. He played at Coastal Carolina on the teal turf. He was a double-digit sack guy 2 years ago, not last year. So you really have to be following this. I thought that was a sneaky pickup for a team that we're always going, where's the pass rush coming from year to year? He could be a dude that has a big game, couple sacks, because he's a problem coming off the edge.
And what could be the best pickup for Michigan is Josh Wallace, corner from UMass. He has played as many snaps as anybody in college football. Now, at the level that he played against, you could say, well, we need to see him do it against Big Ten competition. We need to see him do it against Marvin Harrison Jr. But he's going to get those opportunities. That was a position opposite Will Johnson. That was a big question mark.
Did you guys see this list from Jordan Reed from ESPN back in July of 14 potential number 1 overall picks next year?
No.
He actually gave J.J. McCarthy a 2% chance.
Of what?
To be the number 1 overall pick?
That's worse than Stoney's Heisman. Are you kidding me?
There's a lot that needs to be shown this year.
Well, aren't you, Mr. Well, anything's can happen. This is the league. Things can happen. 2%?
2% is anything can happen.
Any given Saturday. All right, coming up next, sports radio produces home runs. It's a fact. It's next, 97.1.
Hey, when you've been injured in an accident, whether it's auto, truck, or motorcycle accident, or a slip and fall, attorney David Feminino is the guy that you need to call, and you need to call him now. I've told you, when you get injured in Michigan, you get David and get paid. David personally makes sure that you get every single dime that you deserve. And hey, David never takes a fee until you get paid. So if you've been injured, or heck, if you know someone who's been injured, you need to tell them to call David Feminino at 855-65-CRASH, or go to his website, getdavidgetpaid.com. That's 855-65-CRASH, getdavidgetpaid.com.
I imagine everybody has a please God, don't cut this guy that's on the Lions roster. Please don't cut him. Like, you think that this guy could be something, a diamond in the rough. You don't want to see him go by the wayside. Who would that player be for you? And Kang, I'll start. For me, that guy is Antoine Green. He's the wide receiver that they drafted in the 7th round from North Carolina. He was the 219th player selected in the draft. I love his combination of size and speed. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He's fast as hell, and he's somebody that I think could benefit from Jameson Williams not playing for the first 6 games, because he could be a guy that you could bring off the bench in situations. You spread him out with 4 receivers, and this guy can go deep, and you're going to have to account for him because he's got the speed and because the size might be a mismatch.
Bryce Harper home run. Made possible because of sports radio. Don't believe me? Here's Bryce Harper after that game. Sports radio creates home runs, produces home runs.
You know what? You want to talk about endearing yourself to a fan base? You call out a caller that you listen to on the way in. that is one of the, and then you basically go out there and you hit the home run. Now, you could say anything you want.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I hit that home run. I called it before.
Call her Chuck.
Yeah, call her Chuck. But that's one of those things when you're talking about guys that are making a bunch of money, that there's a lot of expectations on, and that you just want them to be likable. That's a likable trait right there.
It's always funny when people deny that they listen or they're not aware of it.
Yeah. No, we're not paying attention. We put the blinders on. I'm off of social media.
Now, I'm not saying these guys are searching their name all the time, but if you're a sports fan in the city you live in, you have no idea what the conversation is around your team or your play. Zero, none. See, I just don't buy it.
Do you think Javi listens?
That's one I hope he doesn't, to be honest.
He should probably stay away at this point. But then again,
could you imagine? Listen to
he would
sports
realize
radio
just how
earlier
ridiculous that strikeout was the other night.
Yeah, but we're also not telling him something as a professional, right? We want a dog on Javi, and we have the right to. He's given us plenty of material,
tons,
but he knows it himself. Like he can't deny the fact that I mean, when AJ gives you a game off and you spend it in the cage trying to rekindle the magic or change how you're approaching the strike zone, there's no question in my mind that he knows it. But there's a difference between knowing it and actually being able to go out there and lay off that outside ball. I mean, all you have to do, you have peripheral vision, right? Mm-hmm. You could see where the catcher's setting up. He sets up 1.5 feet outside the strike zone, low and outside. Where do you think the ball is coming?
I saw a stat, and I didn't believe it, that this is the lowest K rate of his career, 23%, Javi Baez this season. So if you can believe it, this is the plate-disciplined version of Javi Baez. That's so ridiculous.
It makes sense with the Harris, though, the whole plan with him and Hinch to get more quality at bats, he would.
But what you're missing is the production of the other, contact moments.
The barrels and the power and all that stuff. We haven't seen any of it.
Yeah, the power's way off from last year. And last year wasn't good.
And the ugly is still ugly. The bad strikeouts are still bad.
By the way, I believe it's right on par, very close. Torque has as many homers this year as Javi does the last 2. Silence.
Again, it's a master of the obvious. Like we can look at the numbers and we know what Torque is doing in terms of home runs. Still, he's not a guy that's lighting it up either in regards to average. But You look at Green right now, and I know a lot of people want to dog on him right now, and yeah, he's in a slump. Do we believe he'll work his way out of it? Yeah.
Javi has one more, 25-24.
Yeah, not for long.
Right.
Torque hit the home run last night. Quick Tiger note. 5 straight losses. We've generally been looking for the positive, this young core of bats. I think we're ignoring that this core of pitching might not exist. Are you familiar? So Wentz gets hit up. Faedo's got an ERA over 5. Look around. Even, what's his name with the strikeouts the other day? Reese Olson.
Yeah.
He's got an ERA over 5.
But Reese Olson is a guy that should be your number 4 or 5. Tarek Skubal should be your 3 or 4.
Sure.
Erod right now.
Opt out.
Okay, but what I'm talking about right now.
My point is that as soon as you feel like you're starting to build a core at the plate, I know we're not trying to think about this, but I don't know that they have a core on the mound.
No, but you are gonna be able to go out and spend some money in free agency. You've developed some bats. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
You don't have to become a contender for the World Series between this year and next year.
Be nice, but I don't think they will.
Right, but let's talk about reality.
Yeah.
Let's stay in the realm of reality. But you can, in an awful division, improve enough to compete for that division. And by competing for the division, it's simply, how do we get to 500?
9:35, update from the Chiefs general manager about Chris Jones. Stay tuned for that. But first, Heather with the news.
A federal judge has dismissed the city of Grand Rapids from a lawsuit filed by the family of Patrick Lyoya. It was determined that the family didn't properly link the city's alleged inadequate training and history of racial discrimination to former officer Christopher Scher's action the day that he allegedly killed Lyoya. So on Monday, the judge ruled that Lyoya's family had a good enough argument against that officer. So that means that the lawsuit can continue on and will continue on with just Scher as the only defendant. A man suspected of robbing a Livonia bank at gunpoint earlier this week was arrested with a 4-year-old in his car. So William Davis was charged with 1 count of bank robbery and 1 count of using a firearm during a crime after he robbed a Comerica bank on Tuesday morning. He walked into this bank with a gun. He started pointing it at employees, walked employees around at gunpoint, received money from several tellers, and then he fled the scene in a black Chevy Blazer. Well, police shortly after caught up with him, and lo and behold, he had his 4-year-old son in the car, and he told police, I'm just taking my son to the park. And they searched his car. They found the bag of money, the weapon. They also found a robbery note and the hoodie that he was wearing at the bank. So it sounds like he committed the crime while his child was waiting for him in the car, or there was enough time to go pick him up afterward. So anyway.
Hey, son, Dad's got to run some errands. Just sit tight.
We'll go to the park after, sweetie. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just got to pick up some money from the bank. The tower on the Detroit side of the Gordie Howe International Bridge is now complete, and at 727 feet, it rivals the height of the Rensen.
Oh,
which is
cool.
The tallest building in the city. So very, very tall. So the bridge actually has no piers in the river. It will be one of the largest stayed cable bridges in North America. So it's going to have 2 towers, one in Detroit and then one in Windsor. They say the tower on the Canadian side should be completed in September. And then overall, the construction is completed by the end of 2024.
Okay. So about a
year and change.
Year and change. Yeah. Year and 4 months.
Yep. Listen to this Florida man story. Florida man was arrested on Tuesday for attacking his ex-girlfriend after she texted him a picture of another man's junk and told him his was much smaller.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, there are facts that he could compare and be like, well, I disagree.
John, I don't think that's the point
No.
here.
I know.
So these two do have a lengthy history together. They have 3 kids together. She has sued him multiple times for not paying child support. So it sounds like she was intentionally sending this picture and making fun of his manhood to kind of rile him up, right?
Of course.
Well, he
Apparently
did get
worked.
riled up.
Yeah.
He didn't text her back. He showed up at her house and attacked her. By the time officers arrived, the man had already fled the scene, but they did find him, tracked him down, and now he's facing charges of battery and burglary.
No comment. No comment.
Burger King is going to have to head to trial over a lawsuit alleging that the Whopper ads are misleading. I feel like stories like this have been trending where people are suing over your ad is nothing like the actual
The picture
meal.
in the menu doesn't resemble the one that I got.
The cheese is perfectly melting in that photo, and it's not doing that on mine when I order the Whopper. So there's been this class action lawsuit. It was filed in 2022, taking aim at the Whopper and how it's portrayed in its advertisements. And certain parts of this lawsuit have been dropped by a judge, but others are moving forward. So those include breach of contract, negligent misrepresentation, and unjust enrichment. So basically, the lawsuit is saying Burger King is making all sorts of money from us, the customers, by misleading us into buying the Whopper when it's nothing like what it looks like in its advertisements. Who's got time for this?
I was just going to ask that question. Somebody's got way too much time to sit there and get a Big Mac or a Whopper, and look at it and be like, well, this doesn't really compare to...
But is this a surprise? It never has.
Even at like high-end restaurants, their photos are awesome.
Edited and touched up. And even when they shoot commercials, it's not necessarily real food. They're using little tricks to make...
It's all sprayed with shellac and it's shiny and perfect.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
It's Heather with the news. It's 97.1.
Here's another guy that I think has really good value. And it's diminishing a little bit because they know he's probably going to be released. It's the guy that's had 4 sacks, and that's Julian Okwara. I think he's going to be an odd man out.
Trade.
Has performed well. But, yeah, you have from now until Tuesday to try and get something in return for Julian Okwara. Is there a receiver out there that you believe can give you another weapon, another option that maybe another team is looking, hey, we want to cut to, but we need somebody on the edge to rush the passer, not a starter, but a backup guy.
Yep.
Is there a deal to be made?
So you don't think Okwara is going to make the team if he's
Julian? I don't think so.
Okay.
7 edge rushers is tough.
I know, and I know the number crunch there, but man, owns Enrique potentially making the team and him not?
But again, it's different position.
I know it's different position, It's just, wow.
We've got that update, John. This has been the biggest storyline for Lions Chiefs. If you're going to pull this upset off, be nice if Chris Jones doesn't play.
It would be. It sure would be.
The latest from their general manager, Brett Veach. He says, we are certainly hopeful that he will play. We're looking forward to next Thursday. Hopeful he's in the lineup and ready to go. Quote, we're going to continue to press on. We're just going to keep on working this thing.
Well,
he's hopeful.
He's hopeful. Well, yeah, I'm sure he's hopeful. I'm sure Andy Reid is hopeful. I'm sure that everybody in Kansas City, every single fan, is hopeful that Chris Jones will be there. Hope is not a strategy. And so I don't think this changes. Did this change how you thought about whether he's going to be available or not come Thursday night?
No.
And again, do I think he could show up, having not practiced, not suited up? The first time he puts on the Kansas City Chiefs uniform is next Thursday night. No practice, nothing. Doesn't even go to the team hotel. Just shows up at the game.
Right, this is game week now.
Right, it is game week because it's a week from today.
Yep.
Do I think that he could just simply show up on Thursday night and have an impact on that game? Yes. He's a 9-10-year vet. He knows how to stay in shape and be effective at points of a game. But and I don't know what his average, plays per game are. Let's just say, I know it's going to be a majority of the snaps. So let's just say it's 55, 60 snaps a game.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he'll be as effective Thursday night, 60 snaps a game, as he was last year? Absolutely not. At moments, yes. And those moments can affect the game. That's why it would be ludicrous to sit here and say if he just simply shows up that he's not going to affect the game. It could. But do I think it's an advantage to the Lions, instead of being in football shape and being out there for 60 snaps, that he's only out there for 25, 30 snaps? I think that's still an advantage Lions, or more of an advantage than if he is played in the preseason and he's ready to go on Thursday night.
How big a difference is a day here or a day there? In other words, if they got a deal done at lunch today versus lunch tomorrow or on Saturday, how much of a difference are these couple days coming up?
I think it matters a lot because, they're not going to be practicing, with the same tempo that they did during the preseason, during camp. They're not going to be they're in game week. He's a vet. They have a very veteran-laden team. So they're not getting into game week. They may not even see full pads again for the rest of the year in practice. So I don't know how Andy Reid runs his, game week practices. I don't know what week 1 looks like versus week 17 or 18. But I got to believe, if this was a normal work week and you show up, Tuesday's your day off, Wednesday, you're going to go full pads. Thursday, maybe it's full pads for the first 5 or 6 periods, then you take them off and you put on shells. That would be an aggressive work week. Most likely, being that they are, a veteran-laden team, they're probably going shells the rest of the way in practice. So he's not going to get into football shape until, week 4, week 5, actually having played some games, getting into the rhythm of that. There's a big difference between coming in and being in weight room and on the track or just running some sprints shape than actually being in football shape.
Veach says he's hopeful. Just the other day, they traded for a defensive tackle. Now, they didn't give up a lot, but actions speak louder than words. That was certainly him preparing for the possibility where Jones doesn't play at all. And your point is, even if he does play, he's not playing 100% of snaps, and he's not going to be 100%. That's the latest. 1 week from today, we are officially into game week. Lions made some other moves since we were on the air yesterday. They no longer have 2 running backs, John. I think people can sigh of relief. They have a little more insurance at the halfback position. Bam Knight comes over from the Jets. I think we brought him up yesterday because the Jets couldn't keep all the running backs after adding Dalvin Cook. Young, strong running.
Yeah,
little
nice
depth.
addition. He's your third guy.
Yeah.
You may not see him.
Ideally, you don't see very much of him.
Yeah,
because you're paying Montgomery and you're investing in Jahmyr Gibbs. Those two should be cycling out and playing most of the snaps.
Yeah, but you are going to you will see him dressed.
Yep, and you might need him for a play or two here or there. The other move they made that got an eyebrow raise was welcome back the Money Badger, Michael Badgley, on the practice squad.
Yes, and before you drive off the road, it's a practice squad.
But it does say something that they were actively looking for a kicker and eventually settled on another option should Patterson struggle. They do not project a lot of confidence in Riley Patterson. It's a Riley Patterson is our field goal kicker, ... for now kind of move.
Well, I mean, it's whether or not you want to say your staff, your front office is exuding confidence in your kicker. It's a results-based business, and especially kicker. Like, you point to numbers. When you come up short on a 53-yard field goal, like, there's no way to spin that other than you came up short. It wasn't, hey, it was heavy winds, you were kicking into the wind, or it was it was a left to right wind, and you pushed it right. It just simply came up short. And so, could you get more footage? Maybe he mishit it. There are some things that you could say about it, but when your track record is 53 is your max, that's the longest one you've ever hit in your career, and you've also missed from 52, from 50. Now all of a sudden you're looking at it going, well, okay, you're not consistent from that deep, and maybe the note should be on those 53s was the wind at your back.
He's a player who made a playoff kick a year ago for a team that won a playoff game. But that team moved on from him to upgrade to Brandon McManus, who has a much stronger leg. Yep. He is a limited kicker. Can they rely on him in the mid-30s and low 40s to hit semi-reliably? Yes, sure. You'll get the gimmies. It's 4th and 8, and it's a 42-yard field goal. You trot him out. The issue becomes when you find yourself 4th and 5, and it's a 52-yard field goal, and Campbell's in that position. Where is it? Punt, kick, we don't trust him, or go for it on 4th and 5, which is a low percentage play. 4th and 1, 4th and 2 with this O-line, John, just about anywhere on the field, I'm willing to go for it. But 4th and 5, and I don't trust my kicker, and I got to punt the ball back. I don't want to be in that position as a team that's trying to make the playoffs, win a playoff game. And I think Brad Holmes knows it. I think he knows Patterson isn't good enough, which is why I would ask, why hasn't he done more about it? We had 3 different teams trade for kickers, and it didn't break the bank. You don't have to love all the names, but 3 teams traded 7th-round picks, 2024s and even 2025s, flipping a 7th to bring in a kicker. The Chargers had a battle. They traded somebody. The Patriots had a kicking battle. They traded somebody. The Saints had a battle. Could only keep one kicker. They traded somebody. The Lions, presumably were inquiring, did not pull the trigger. So I do question if Brad Holmes is doing enough. 248-539-9797. I also realize this is a compliment to the Lions that this is the position that we're hung up on. It's kicker. Well, it's not like they have a glaring need at any of the other positions in my mind. This is a compliment that this is the thing we're fixated on, that they're good enough that the kicker would matter, and that they're good enough that the kicker is their biggest need.
Well, and so probably 2 of the most, I don't know, useless conversations that we hope are, that we're having them in futility is the fact that we talked about the backup quarterback. Hope we never have to see him. It's an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Your kicker is an insurance policy that you are going to have to cash every once in a while. But it's like we talked about Heather's windshield. Like, you're going to get a ding in your windshield at some point, and you like to know that your insurance has the windshield replacement, part of it, the extension of it.
And you don't want to have repeated windshield issues.
You don't,
like
but
Heather
sometimes
has.
you do.
Right, but so this will change how Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell may approach, and I say may because these situations may never arise.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about your backup quarterback, you believe that you have a roster that's built to be a playoff team. If you're talking about your kicker, you not only believe that you should be a playoff team, that you should make a run in the playoffs. That's what we believe, that this team should host a playoff game, should get a playoff win, and you're talking about how do you get to that next level. We're talking about backup quarterbacks and we're talking about kickers. It's a tribute to where this roster has developed over the past 3 years.
6 kickers in the 2 seasons Dan Campbell's been here, and I don't put that on him. I'm just stating they've cycled through 6 different kickers, and they appear to still be searching. They know they got to do better. 248-539-9797. Some ticket text coming in on both the Chris Jones stuff and the kicker stuff. Carson Anderson coming up at 10. It's 97.1.
Hey, for everyone out there who is suffering from constant joint pain, I know it's been a tough summer. All you want to do is get outside, enjoy the beautiful weather. You want to do it this fall because we love falls in Michigan. You want to go for walks, play golf for the weather that is available, and you want to be able to do it pain-free. Here's the good news. The incredible doctors at Straith Orthopedics can help. They'll make sure you get back to enjoying all your favorite activities just as soon as possible. And I'm telling you all the time about patients who rave about the life-changing care Straith Orthopedics has given them. They're some of the highest-rated specialists in Southeast Michigan. My dad has gone there. New knee, back on the baseball diamond. I've had other family members, and they are back to doing the things that they love. And now it's your turn. Start living life pain-free. Call Straith Orthopedics at 855-STRAIGHT, or you can visit them online at straith.org. That's STRAITH.org. And Straith also offers free lunch with the doctor events. So if you want to learn more about the minimally invasive, innovative treatments that they offer in a no-obligation casual setting, you can meet the Straith doctors in person and ask all your questions. Call 855-STRAIGHT for an event near you. Straith Orthopedics is committed to you.
a Milwaukee bar has something concocted for football season. They will pay your tab when the Jets lose a game started by Aaron Rodgers this season. Did you see this?
I did. I think it's awesome. I think it's genius.
Now, there's some stipulations, right, Heather? I know, like, they're not comping your whole meal.
Right. You can't comp your food. You have to stay at the bar the entire
game. You got to be there and start your tab at least 15 minutes before kickoff.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers has to start the game. And so it can't conflict with a Green Bay Packers game as well, which
exactly
rules out certain Sundays.
Yeah, unless there's some things flexed at the end.
4 games, I think, in total that they'll do this.
So basically, it's prime time games, featured games where Rodgers starts for the Jets, they lose, and they're buying your beer or your drink for you.
Yes.
If we had a promotion like that here in Detroit, if a local bar adopted this, would it be Aaron Rodgers? Would it be a different athlete? Like, who would be our villain that we would get comped a free drink if they lose? Couple ticket texts. Chris Jones. Will he play? Won't he play? Chiefs general manager says we're hopeful. John notes, hope's not a strategy.
No, and he's got to say he's hopeful because I'm sure they have all the hope in the world that he will be out there.
You brought up his return to football, whether it's this week or later in the season and practices. Texter says, this is a stupid question. What's the difference between shells and pads?
All right, so shells are, when you're going pads, it's exactly what you see on the football field. Those are full pads. You go shells, it's just the cushy part underneath the hard shells, on top of the hard plastic that you actually see. So there's not the same protection during practice. I call it shorts and skirts. All right, it's not T-shirts. It's just simply this minimal protection. And what it does is it takes the tempo down of practice. There's not going to be any collisions. There's no firing off the ball, offensive and defensive lines. And so the pace of practice is brought down. And to put a number on it, let's just say it goes to 60% effort. But, when you have full pads, you have different periods where, hey, it's full go, there's thud, and there's a number of different things. Those are in relative terms, instead of 100%, it's maybe 90%, 85%. When you go shells, you're taking it way down, and you're saying, I don't want your helmet or anybody else to be touching anyone else's shoulders. And to do that, you cannot be going hard.
So you're not really simulating the game speed that you need for Chris Jones to get back into shape in time. Texter says, I welcome an out-of-shape Chris Jones for that first game. It'd be nice to see him with his hands on his hips, gasping for some air.
Hell yeah.
Especially you think about the strength of this Lions team being the offensive line.
Advantage Detroit.
Chance to work him a little bit.
Yeah. It would be nice. And even if he comes back now, all right, I think we're talking in terms of we're working on the margins in regards to how effective for how long he can be in there. It's not going to be like it was in his all-pro season last year. It's not going to be the Chris Jones that shows up. It may be the Chris Jones that shows up for a handful of plays, but it's not the Chris Jones that shows up for 50-plus plays.
Well, talk about margins. I mean, margin of victory. To actually pull this off, one of the keys to me, blueprinted out, is on a third down, you get the first.
Yeah.
Chris Jones is the king of, hey, your drive's over, whether it's a sack on first or second down to push you behind the sticks and force you to throw on the road in a loud environment, or, hey, third down drive's over, you got to punish the ball, Mahomes gets it. If he's not in the game on third down, or if he's huffing and puffing for a third down and you push him back and you get a couple yards, or you buy an extra half second for Goff to get the ball out to somebody, now the drive is a 10-play drive, and it's a 6-minute drive or a 7-minute drive, and you do this thing where Mahomes is sitting over on the sideline with his hands in his hand warmers, like, when do I get to play? That's part of the blueprint to win this game. It has nothing to do with Mahomes. It has everything to do with Chris Jones and moving the sticks on third down and keeping the ball away.
And here's the other thing that you do in terms of putting together a game plan. If Chris Jones is out there and you're in 8, 9 play drive, and you see that hands are on hips, and all of a sudden it looks like, yeah, he wants to come out, then you increase the tempo of the game. You throw a play in there to Jared Goff. You say, hey, on this one, we're going to run 2 plays. We want you to get right to the line of scrimmage, and you don't allow time for him to get off the field. So you either run at an exhausted Chris Jones, or you throw a pass where you're going to need some more time because he's not going to be a factor, or, hey, they're forced to call a timeout. Hey, we got a timeout. We got to get him off the field.
That's a win too. Couple ticket texts on the kicker battle. It says all the competitions you talked about in the league were with kickers with stronger legs that miss more field goals left than right. So you want to instead pivot to a less accurate, stronger leg kicker. So one of the names that was traded was Nick Folk.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty accurate inside of 40, and he's got a stronger leg than Riley Patterson. Now this might be, and this is a point, these are such small percentage differences. But, John, the whole deal is it only takes that one situation to flip the game. You miss the field goal, you miss the extra point, or you can't kick it on a 4th down because you don't have a guy that you trust. Nick Folk, to me, is an upgrade over Riley Patterson. I think Robbie Gould, who's been brought up a bunch, is an upgrade over Riley Patterson. Will Lutz, I think, maybe more of a debate, but stronger leg. The Saints traded him for a 7th-round pick. Again, it's the trade-off, but I think that the thing I would just remind people, Brad Holmes agrees that they don't have enough there. It's why he's using a practice squad spot on a kicker. Brad Holmes agrees with us. That's why he's been calling around the league. This isn't like a forced narrative. The Detroit Lions have cycled 6 kickers in 2 years. These are 2 of them, Badgley and Patterson. They still don't feel comfortable at kicker, which is why I feel uncomfortable, which is why I think this is still a conversation going into the season.
Yeah, and I do believe we have Gator. Gator down, who is at Gate A.
Ooh,
down at Comerica. And as we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Gator gets to play the 2 Grand Slam. Gator, how was everything down at the ballpark today?
It's good. It's good. It looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day by the time they throw that first pitch. Should be around 70 degrees right now. I don't see a cloud in the sky, so it's really nice right now.
All right, sounds good. Are you ready for the 2 Grand Slam?
Sure.
All right.
You sound excited.
Yes, you sound very excited.
I always get nervous about this because I'll miss a stupid question.
Our listener got 5
right. You don't always miss a stupid one. You've won a handful of them, so we will begin. Who currently leads the Detroit Tigers in home runs this season?
Spencer Torkelson.
Name one of the 2 teams playing in Sunday night's Camping World Kickoff.
Criminally. Pass.
Brian Kelly is the head coach of this college football team.
LSU.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen played this character in Saved by the Bell.
Damn it. See, this is one of those things. She was my favorite, too. Pass. I'll come back to it.
Who is currently the starting kicker of the Detroit Lions?
Riley Patterson.
This team drafted Michigan kicker Jake Moody in the 2023 NFL Draft.
I don't know. Move on.
Sean Austin played this kick character in Rudy.
Sean Astin. He played Rudy.
The Utah Utes host this SEC team tonight in college football.
Florida.
Who played the Joker in Dark Knight?
Heath Ledger.
Is Elk Rapids in the lower or upper peninsula of Michigan?
Lower.
All right, so I think would we get 7 there?
7.
I wasn't counting.
I mean, come on. Tiffany Amber Thiessen, I come on. I mean, that's really aggravating to me.
All right, so
all I could think of was Jesse Spano, and of course that's not. That's
no.
The girl from Farmington.
Heather, would you like to let him know?
Kelly Kapowski.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And the Camping World kickoff tonight is Florida State versus LSU.
Florida State.
Uh-huh.
I thought you said Sunday.
It's Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, Sunday night, yeah. I did say that. But and then this team drafted kicker Jake Moody. That would be the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, good for them.
What are you guys going to talk about? Short show going into Tiger baseball?
Yeah, look, it's game week now, right? Game week. We've got Michigan State to talk about. Michigan State obviously playing first on Friday night. Michigan playing Saturday. We got college football tonight. We're all excited about that. We've got a week from the Lions' first game. Hearing what the GM for the Chiefs had to say. We'll have our thoughts on that, and I think I trust John's opinion very much when it comes to a matter of a veteran player, how long it takes for them to get in shape. So I liked hearing what John had to say. We'll see when Chris Jones comes back into camp. And we've got football questions.
Oh,
more football questions.
Yes.
Love it.
Carson Anderson, 97.1.
Look, do I want to kick the tires on Robbie Gould? Absolutely. Absolutely. See, what do you still got the leg? Do you still want to play? You know, what's the reason he hasn't been signed by anybody yet? There are a plethora of teams that need a kicker.
Yeah.
Is there something else going on there? If there's not, then I think the Lions, who are the other teams you mentioned that Racina mentioned?
Rams.
Okay, get the Rams.
The Rams, Falcons, but hold on, let me look it up.
So it's like the Rams and Niners both kick outdoors.
Rams, Lions, Titans, Niners, Broncos.
So it's just the Lions are the only ones that are kicking indoors?
Rams.
Oh, right. Well, is it?
It's kind of got the retractable walls. So.
Well, you have plenty of time. You just.
I don't think the Rams are looking to add a veteran kicker to the roster.
I think I got the video up and
It's
running.
a really young team.
I literally
starting over.
before
Yeah.
the
So
show hit the air. So,
I mean, the Lions
we're
would have
good.
the best.
I think we have Twitch and YouTube.
The best
I think,
situation.
although they're showing
Wouldn't you
something
think?
from last week. Evan says they got me. So
Yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you, that was
the
that was
situation
what you
being
just
indoors
did,
with a-
'cause you know your computer. You know the buttons.
Yes.
You know which one mutes the volume.
yes,
I don't.
The volume was up, but on your own laptop.
Yeah, I don't
or-
even know. Is it an F key?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's at the top there, but anyway.
I
It's got a
see.
little symbol.
Gotcha. Yeah, I should know that.
It's
That's
very
good.
convenient the way Apple does it.
Is it?
Yeah, look, we are up and running. Good. All right, so we're down at Comerica Park today for this big game. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed it. What did John say about? Because part of the news this morning is the Kansas City GM Brett Veach. Because a week from today, the Lions open against the Chiefs. Brett Veach saying regarding Chris Jones, their All-Pro defensive tackle, who obviously is a huge part of their team and a huge part of their defense, and he's been holding out, and he said he'd hold out. And last week, Andy Reid said there's been no communication. I mean, none. And but this morning, KC GM Brett Veach said we'd been in communication, and actually just the last few days, we've been in more communication. We're going to continue to press on and work hard. When asked, could Chris Jones possibly play in the opener against the Lions, he said, we're certainly hopeful for that. So that's news that is pertinent to us here in Detroit and pertinent to the football season and certainly pertinent to Game 1. Gator, what is it that John said about a veteran getting ready? Because he hasn't been practicing with the team.
Yeah, well, he obviously veterans that have been in the league as long as he has, which I think is like 9 seasons, they know how to get themselves in shape and ready to go for the season. So it's not going to take them long, but it will have an impact nonetheless. If he John said that if he just shows up on game day and has no practice whatsoever leading up to it, that like they come up to they'll get the extension that day, whatever he comes in, puts the pads on, goes in there. He could play a bunch of snaps, but he's not going to be as good as he might be a week later. But he'll still have some impactful snaps. I mean, as much as you can say, oh, he's only playing at 70%, that's great when you consider it over the course of the game. But Chris Jones is such an impact player that if he shows up for just 1 or 2 plays, they can be game-wrecking plays.
Right.
He gets to the quarterback. He totally stuffs the run. He's an outstanding player. So that's I think my take out of that is that, the longer he delays coming to practice, the better. But I'm starting to think he's going to play in the game, and he will have an impact because he is so good. So I'm hoping that he doesn't.
I mean, I guess if he does, the great news is we get to see best on best right away, and that's part of what we want. It's not like you back your way into a Super Bowl, but you prove more if you beat him with Chris Jones. So there's that's a positive. If you want to take a positive spin, is get to see best on best, and I guess I kind of prefer that, although you know what? We've had so many years of the Lions having bad luck with injuries. I don't mind to see it happen, some sort of bad luck happen to somebody else. This isn't an injury, but I don't mind seeing a guy out of the lineup when we've played plenty of games without our guys in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
If they want to play, if Patrick Mahomes wants to rest a week, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
That's okay.
They put about a snap count for the
you know,
opener.
just
Sure.
Kinda,
That makes sense.
We're just we're going to ease him into the season, dip the toe in the water. Mahomes gets 1 series and he's done, Maybe they forget that it's the start of the regular season. I'm cool with all that.
That's all possible.
Yeah, I'm here for all of that.
In fact, at this point, I'd be surprised if Mahomes plays the whole game.
I don't know why you even play him.
Okay, so we're at Comerica Park today, Tigers and Yankees afternoon game, wrapping up this 4-game set with the Yankees. Hey, Torque hit a bomb last night, so that was good. The whole pitching situation early in the game didn't really work out, but okay, so they play again today.
Yeah.
And you have a demand. You actually have a demand of Scott Harris and A.J. Hinch, a with all respect due demand that we will get to today. But we'll be down here leading up until the pregame show at 12:40. You can stream and see where we're broadcasting from here downtown Detroit. If you want to follow us on Twitch, go to twitch.tv, search up 971 The Ticket, or go to youtube.com and search up 971 The Ticket, and bam, there we are. And you could participate in the streaming chat on Twitch or comment section on YouTube. Lots of football to get to today, including, you mentioned, Michigan and Michigan State, and we are fired up for tonight, where it's a better version of an appetizer for college football than Week 0. Tonight there's 2 games of interest here for people locally, both Michigan and Michigan State. We'll get to see Minnesota and Nebraska this year. They play each other tonight in Minneapolis, and Utah-Florida is an interesting game. Cam Rising, don't know if he's going to play.
That's big.
Which is big for Utah, but an outstanding quarterback that they have.
And Florida replacing Richardson, so,
Something I think Michigan State fans should look for tomorrow night in their opener against Central, and I'll make a prediction about under-the-radar freshman for Michigan before the show is done. 248-539-9797. We've got open lines. As Gator mentioned, we got the Wide 9 Omaha 4-down around league blitz thingy. That comes your way today at 10:30. And we hit the Chris Jones news right out of the gate. But, Gator, I want to take this moment and compliment our outstanding audience. And one of the reasons why I just love doing this show and love talking to the people is yesterday was more than a few of you, more than a handful. We got a lot of feedback when it was revealed that Zonovan Bam Knight had been waived by the New York Jets and was on the open market. And fans were telling us, and it was not a Doug original thought. It was not a Gator original thought. It came from the listeners. I wanted Jarrett
Patterson.
Thank you, from the Redskins, former Buffalo Bull, the college team up there. I wanted him signed as a running back. There were some people that wanted Craig Reynolds back, but nope. Some of you out there called the shot and said, "Go get Zonovan Bam Knight," who had a couple of good games last year with the Jets and Gator. Lo and behold.
Yeah, that's right. Get low
and behold. It actually happened. They went and got Zonovan Bam Knight. Credit the listeners.
Yeah, no, that's it's good on them for recognizing that. I think that this practice squad thing it's funny to me, and yet at the same time I think it's awesome that we care this much about the practice squad, that we care this much about the season, that every single move the Lions make is impactful, even if it's just which running back makes the practice squad.
We are having emotional overreaction to the minutia of putting together an NFL roster.
The fact that they've used the practice squad spot on a kicker. What are they doing?
Right.
We're not the outrage of it all. I think we all understand that these moves are going to be very, 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 very fluid. Guys will be moved in and out of the practice squad all season long. They'll be constantly bringing guys in on on Tuesdays? Is that when they bring the players in to work out during the season to see if they want to add them to the practice squad? You got all these, free agents out there. It's like I said, I think it's a fluid situation. We had the poll up yesterday about the kicking situation. Who's going to kick the most field goals this year? It'll be Badgley, Patterson, or C. Other, and C. Other won.
Right.
In a very scientific 1 hour long poll with nearly 400.
It was actually only 45 minutes.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah.
But we had over almost 400 people respond to it, which was great. And, here it is a day later, and I'm still thinking they don't have their kicker yet.
Right.
I think it's still going to change. I mean, Patterson could start the season. It will start. It sounds like he's going to start the season as the kicker. He is the roster guy. But I could easily see somebody else coming in at some point if there is a better option. I think that they'll be all over it and try to improve on that, because it seems like of all the needs for the Lions right now, that might be the most glaring one, and it's not even that glaring. It's just it's something that they could definitely upgrade.
248-539-9797. We got open lines. We'll get to your phone calls coming up. And at 10:30, the Wide Night Omaha 4-Down Around League Blitz thingy, it's Carson Anderson from Comerica Park here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, we've officially made it to the college football season in our great state in Twin Peaks. Can't wait to host you for all the action. Starting tomorrow night, the Spartans look to get back on track at 7 p.m., then follow back on Saturday as Michigan starts their quest for a national championship at noon. Why watch the game at Twin Peaks? Well, that's easy. Between the wall-to-wall TVs, the incredibly delicious scratch-made food prepared fresh every day, the bone-chilling 29-degree draft beer, and most importantly, the Twin Peaks girls, you'd be crazy to go anywhere else. Twin Peaks lives for football season, and they offer up the best game day experience in the state. Get in early for a front row seat to all the action. The girls can't wait to see it. The food's outstanding. The drink specials are great. Love those 29-degree drafts. They got the digital thermometer there behind the bar to show you exactly how cold the beer is when they pour it. If you're a fan of Twin Peaks, sign up for the E-Club and stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Just visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/peaks-club to get started today. And to find a location nearest you, go to twinpeaksrestaurant.com. Doug Carr, Scott Anderson outside Comerica Park on a beautiful day in downtown Detroit. Tigers and Yankees in a big one later today. Let's get to your phone calls. We go to Brandon. You're on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Brandon.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Doing good.
So first off, happy first meaningful day of football, first ranked game. So from now till February, we can look forward to football.
Yeah, I hear you.
I know we got a bunch of games that don't really mean anything this weekend. But one of the things I thought was funny was Jack Harbaugh is the assistant coach for Michigan. I don't know if it's this week. I don't know which week it is. But I think it's fantastic that he made his dad, who's 85, one of the assistant coaches.
I think it's funny, but the truth is he's been in that associate head coach role for a while. It just hasn't gotten a ton of publicity. And, yeah, he'll be down on the field. And he's a former head coach. You know who else is an analyst for that team for Michigan and is a former head coach is Rick Minter, who was the head coach at Cincinnati for a while. And it's his son, Jesse, who is coaching Michigan. So there's no shortage of head coaching experience down there. If anything comes up that he has a question about, although I imagine.
How old is Jack?
I don't know how old Jack is.
I think he's in his 80s, but I'm not sure.
He might be. I mean, you know what it reminds me
on the
of?
Sideline?
Yeah, I think they wouldn't put him down there if they didn't.
Yeah, maybe he's
younger, spry people get steamrolled. I had a big worry about his health.
You mean him getting hit,
Yeah.
run over?
Yeah.
He's in great shape. Actually, I haven't seen him in a while. Last time I saw him, he looked like he was in great shape. I'll ask him. I'll tell him you're worried about him, Gator.
Yeah, that's me. I'm worried about him.
No, it's very Harbaugh to have him playing some role, and guys are getting bumped around here a little bit. But yeah, there's some experience as far as any head coaching thing. I think they'll check all the boxes, Brandon, before the game. But Rick Minter's there and Jack Harbaugh is there if anything comes up that they're not prepared for. But I doubt that happens, but it could. Thank you for the phone call, 248-539-9797.
Was Rick Minter with Notre Dame as a defensive coordinator or something?
Yeah, and then he was at Cincinnati. I feel like it was for a decade. So I got 2 days to be prepared. I'll have his whole resume.
Get ready to start putting stuff in the bucket?
Whole resume ready to go by Saturday. But, yeah, he was. He was at Notre Dame, and they had pretty good defense, right? So, and his son Jesse is the guy. As he puts it, Jesse said, "I'm the guardian of victory." So, he gets the game this week.
Don't screw it up.
Jeremy is next here on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How you guys doing today?
What's up?
Good. Calling to shed some light. Get your guys' thoughts on a kicker. I know Rodrigo Blankenship. I was a big fan of him, and he got cut recently. I think he'd be fantastic fit for us. He's consistent, not injury prone. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Looked up his numbers, and I was surprised. I wasn't quite as impressed after I looked at his numbers and compared him to Riley Patterson and others. Look, his name came up earlier in the week, and that's why I went and took a look. I don't have him in front of me at this very moment.
Yeah, they weren't good.
They weren't great. He had some big kicks.
When he played with the Colts, I remember him doing a good job. I actually had him on my fantasy team for a few weeks, and that's why I was paying close attention to him. And
I think in his career he did have some good weeks, but I'll have to go back and look because like I said, I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. But
I seem to remember it was just yesterday or 2 days ago when we were doing the whole kicker thing. All the names were brought up. His was one. And I was kind of surprised that they weren't as impressive as perhaps they should have been for the bespectacled kicker.
Yeah, I'll have to
he
go
looks
back
cool.
and take a look at the numbers.
He looks cool? You think he looks cool?
Yeah, I think he looks great.
You dig the glasses look?
Yes.
Okay.
He was 47 of 56 on field goals, 83%. He was 2 of 5 from beyond 50. And 15 of 19 from 40 to 50.
How is he on extra points?
93%, 54 of 58. It feels very Riley Patterson-y.
It does, actually. And Patterson's numbers, percentage-wise, are slightly better.
So, look, I was a Brett Maher guy. I wanted them to kick the tires on him. Robbie Gold's still out there. The Rodrigo Blankenship thing, though, I mean, I don't feel like that's a clear upgrade.
No, I think we as Lions fans are a little spooked because he hit the crossbar in a 53-yard attempt, and you wouldn't think professional kickers would come up short on something from 53 yards.
No.
He also missed an extra point, which does happen from time to time in the NFL. We don't like to see that. But by and large, Riley Patterson's been a pretty accurate kicker. But I'll share the concern about when you have to, dial it up from here's a 54-yard attempt and you don't have any confidence in it. But I think you end up having the utmost confidence in anything inside of 45. And that's a good feeling to have that kind of confidence from there. I like the accuracy. Of course, you'd like to have him with more distance.
Yeah, but at this point, it feels like Detroit wants the Lions to round out the practice squad with nothing but kickers. And
they have a practice squad kicker.
No, I'm saying I think they want more kickers in here and pressing Riley Patterson. Look, they've got 5 spots open on the practice squad. They made another signing this morning. And Doris Fountain, a wide receiver who has played with Indianapolis, Kansas City, recently got released by the Bears. And that's interesting because, it still doesn't mean they won't bring back Chase Cota, but they obviously saw something in this guy that they preferred over Fountain, or over Cota, rather.
Yeah, Justin Fields intel.
He did, one of the teams he was with was the Chiefs, but I don't know if you go get Doris Fountain.
You don't think so?
No. No, I don't. But I had that thought, but I doubt that's why they brought him in. But they still got 5 spots. Now, is Craig Reynolds at the end of the line? Did the addition of Zonovan Bam Knight and do they want 2 running backs on the practice squad? Badgley's been brought in to compete. And so we still really don't know who the kicker is. God, we've got a lot of – this speaks to where we're at right now. We're a mess. Mentally.
We as Lions fans?
Yeah, the Lions are fine. We're a mess.
We're just a mess.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, because we're so fixated on what happens with the practice squad.
It's important, but we're going on our 3rd day of taking calls on the kicker. This is 3 days.
Well, we still have another week before the season starts.
I know. Will it ever end?
Every day that Robbie Gould is unemployed is a day that we're going to be thinking about him.
Yeah, I suspect, but we need to find out what the story is there. Need to do some digging.
I thought the story is told. He wants to be close to Chicago.
Detroit's close to Chicago.
So pick up the phone.
They haven't.
Maybe all he wants to do is kick for Chicago, period.
Maybe he wants $7 million. But
his last several posts on his Twitter account are all about Chicago stuff.
Really?
Having a family out there when he threw out the first pitch at Wrigley, talking about the Cubs, all this stuff. It might be a little nauseating to have here.
All right, we're outside of Comerica Park. It's Carson Anderson. Got a to-do list for Michigan State in their game tomorrow night against Central Michigan. Gator, I want to know if you agree. We'll get to that today at 11:02. In the meantime, 248-539-9797. Straight ahead. Let's do the Wide 9 Omaha 4-Down Around League Blitz thingy here on 97.1 The Ticket.
I imagine everybody has a please God don't cut this guy that's on the Lions roster. Please don't cut him. Like, you think that this guy could be something, a diamond in the rough. You don't want to see him go by the wayside. Who would that player be for you? And Kang, I'll start. For me, that guy is Antoine Green. He's the wide receiver that they drafted in the 7th round from North Carolina. He was the 219th player selected in the draft. I love his combination of size and speed. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He's fast as hell, and he's somebody that I think could benefit from Jamison Williams not playing for the first 6 games, because he could be a guy that you can bring off the bench in situations. You spread him out with 4 receivers, and this guy can go deep, and you're going to have to account for him because he's got the speed and because the size might be a mismatch.
All right, let's go. We got some NFL questions as we creep closer to the start of the season. It's a week from today. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Kang, question 1.
Question 1 is going to who? First?
I guess I'll take it.
All right, yeah, you should, because Doug went first yesterday. All right, here we go. First question, guys. The Colts, they were unable to trade running back Jonathan Taylor by their self-imposed deadline this week. Now Taylor starts the season on the PUP list. Real quick, easy question here, guys. Will Taylor remain a Colt by the end of the year?
No, he will not. He'll be traded, but I don't think it'll happen until the trade deadline, after the season's gone on for a little bit. I think the Colts will just wait a while, start to see how they're playing, and I think at some point that they'll lower their price and trade him. He doesn't want to be there. Clearly, the owner doesn't want him. The owner doesn't value him, even though he might be the best running back in the league. And it's time to part ways. I'm surprised they didn't get it done, but the reports that they were asking for Jalen Waddle and others from Miami in the trade is kind of crazy. But you think about it, Jalen Waddle's an outstanding receiver. Jonathan Taylor's an outstanding running back. A move like that actually does make sense if Taylor wasn't hurt.
Yeah, value for value too, but any team trading for him is trying to win.
Yeah.
So if the Colts, what teams want to give up is future draft picks.
Exactly.
And the Colts don't want to give up on the here and the now. They want a player now. They don't want a future asset. As you mentioned, maybe by the time they get to the trade deadline, they'll change their mind and say, okay, the future asset's worth it. I actually think he's going to be a Colt all year, because their GM yesterday sounded pretty adamant. They didn't want to just give him away. I think they're going to keep their price high. It could be just lip service, but at the end of the day, if he doesn't play, he doesn't get credit for a year, which keeps him a year further away from free agency. So I think he'll end up playing for the Colts.
I think he will be traded at some point this year. I know the GM said yesterday, Doug, the relationship is repairable. I'm not so sure, man. Irsay is one of those owners that kind of goes off the deep end on Twitter or at a press conference. I think they need assets for the Anthony Richardson era to start. They can't wait on this. They have a huge asset in Jonathan Taylor. They can get assets in return. Whether they'll get what they want is another story, but they need to move them for something, and they got to move on. All right, defensive standouts, Chris Jones and Nick Bosa remain holdouts and could miss the start of the season. Which long-term holdout would hurt their team the most?
So I think Kansas City, they're great because their offense was the number one total offense in the NFL last year. It's in their DNA. San Francisco is great because their defense was number one in total defense last year. That's in their DNA. Feels like Bosa not playing takes away more from San Francisco's heart and soul to me more than Jones missing for Kansas City. They both hurt, and they hurt a lot. But I think Bosa is more important to who the Niners are than Jones is to who the Chiefs are.
Well, I think you're wrong. Well, in this regard. I think Bosa is important because he makes the Niners a better team. I think Chris Jones is important because he makes them a Super Bowl team, and that's the difference. So I'd say Chris Jones is more important for Kansas City. Without him, they can't win a Super Bowl. You know me, I'm not a big Niners fan. I think it's done with some smoke and mirrors there. I think they've gotten lucky. I think Bosa's an outstanding player. But even if Bosa plays, I'm not convinced that they're a Super Bowl team. I am convinced that Kansas City is.
This is a real tough call for me. Chris Jones and Nick Bosa are such forces on their defensive line. They're studs, absolute studs, and there's a reason why they're holding out. They deserve to get paid more money than they are getting paid. But in the end, I agree with you, Doug. I think Nick Bosa is more of the heart and soul of the Niners because the heart and soul of the Niners is the defense. The heart and soul of the Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes. And although losing their one maybe best and obviously best defensive player would hurt, they still have Patrick Mahomes, and they're all offense. Even if they don't have the ball for a long time, just as the Eagles showed yet last year, that ball control against them didn't even work because Mahomes is so good. I'm going with Nick Bosa hurting his team more in the long term. All right, rookie QBs, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. All will start with week one. All will start in week one. Who will end up having the best rookie season, and who will have the worst rookie season of these three?
Well, I'll start with the worst. I think Richardson is poised to have the worst of the three because of the situation he's in. Jonathan Taylor's holding out, and he's on the PUP list. So without the great running game, you're kind of screwed as a quarterback when you're entering the league as a rookie. Plus, he's a raw experiment to begin with. It'll take time before he really shines and becomes what everybody hopes he can be. And I'm not even convinced that he's going to be that, but he is such an athletic specimen, and he's got a ton of talent. I'm rooting for him. I just don't think it's going to come this year or even next year. As far as the best season's concerned, I think it's going to be Bryce Young because I think he's in the best situation right now. I think his team is better off than what Houston is with C.J. Stroud. I like Stroud a lot. I think he's got a ton of talent too. I think he's showing much more poise as the preseason went on. I watched him play quite a bit. But Bryce Young, to me, is the best quarterback in his class, and I think he's in the best situation, so he'll have the best season.
So Stroud and Richardson have the benefit of getting to face each other twice. And that two bad football teams playing each other with two rookie quarterbacks. But Richardson would be in a lot better situation if he had somebody to turn and hand it to like Jonathan Taylor, and that clearly hurts. Carolina is the best team that the three of them are handing the keys to a rookie, and they're in a terrible division anyway. So I think it's going to be Bryce Young. The one thing that could derail that is if he can take the rigors of an NFL season. He's still just a wee little fella, but I would go Richardson the worst and Bryce Young the best.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on the best season. It's Bryce Young. He's just got more offensive help around him. Miles Sanders, DJ Chark when healthy, veteran receiver in Thielen, Hayden Hurst. He's poised. He's been in Alabama, of course. I think what he showed in the preseason shows that he can play in this league. He just needs some time. I think the worst rookie quarterback start between these three this season is going to be C.J. Stroud, and it's just because of the pressure he's going to get. If you watch the preseason at all, when the pressure was dialed up, he did not know what to do, had nowhere to go. He can move around a little bit, but these are NFL defensive linemen and linebackers coming at you. They're a lot faster than college. Richardson, although he might not have Jonathan Taylor at least to start the year, he at least has his legs to get out of situations. He's got an arm to chuck down the field. He's going to use his legs a lot to get out of situations to help him out. Although he's not going to have a good year, I think Stroud actually has a worse year than Richardson. The Arizona Cardinals might they might actually start their recently acquired veteran quarterback Joshua Dobbs. That's right, Joshua Dobbs has been with the team for less than a week. They're either going to start him or a rookie 5th-round pick in Clayton Tune, week 1. They've already also traded a few starters from last year. The Cardinals are clearly kind of tanking, at least from the outside looking in here. Can the Cardinals actually go 0-17 this year?
Yes. And I expect they will.
Oh, come on.
They are terrible. I've never seen a tank job start this early.
This is bad,
They're
right?
going 0-17.
It's a bad team. It's a very bad team, but you got to be committed to 0-17. That is not – I mean, come on.
You heard what he said.
I know what
Quarterback's
he said.
been there 30 minutes.
That's fine.
The other one's a fifth-round pick.
Right. Kyler Murray will come back healthy, and he'll win a game.
No, he won't.
He'll win at least a game.
0-17.
So you're counting on at least one game from Kyler Murray to win a game, right, Gator?
Yes.
I'm going to say they're definitely committed to going 0-17. I don't think they actually do it. It's just too hard to go 0-17 in the NFL. Players still try hard. I think they have the Texans, Rams, and Falcons on their schedule. They win one of those games, but it's going to be a 1-16 season, and they're clearly tanking. All right, the Trey Lance era in San Francisco has come to an end when he was traded to the Cowboys this week. The Niners gave up 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick to draft Trey Lance. Is this a fireable offense for John Lynch?
I think it's a fireable offense for just about any other GM in football, but because he's built that team into a winner, and he's done it with, a third-string quarterback, last guy in the draft or whatever. I mean, this is it's impressive what he did. It's awful what he did also. I mean, it's both things, but I don't think it's a fireable offense for him right off the bat because they're still expected to be a playoff team, and somehow they can, escape making a giant mistake of trading up for a guy that didn't pan out. But I do think maybe it ignites the fire on a seat. Maybe you start to rub your hands together, get ready to press the seat warmer on level 1.
I think clearly everybody F's up professionally at some point or another. And this might be one of the most colossal professional F-ups in the history of the NFL. But he is saved by having a good football team. What he doesn't need, every year there's some team that's expected to contend that completely bombs. He doesn't need that to be San Francisco, because then everybody will talk about the resources he didn't have the last 3 drafts without those first-round picks and how that finally came back to cost him. So is it a fireable offense in the here and the now? No, but it certainly goes on as permanent record. I don't think they will bomb this year, so I think he survives it, but it's hard to overcome that kind of mistake, but it can be done. John Schneider made huge mistakes in Seattle, quite frankly, and still built a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, this one seems so ginormous. I mean, all those picks, and everyone has, if you go up and look online what those picks turn into, they're good players.
Yeah.
Is this a fireable offense? Yes-ish. They kind of have to win the Super Bowl, in my mind, this year to make up for it. How did he get this good team? He built it on defense, right? But also, he got lucky, or does he deserve credit for drafting Brock Purdy? That's the question. It's not just the Trey Lance trade, guys. Reuben Foster, Solomon Thomas, Kinlaw, Trey Lance, of course, I mentioned. Jake Moody in the 3rd round. There are some questionable picks from the John Lynch era. If they win the Super Bowl this year, none of that matters, of course. But if they don't, I think this definitely goes on his permanent record. I wouldn't be surprised to see John Lynch on the hot seat at the end of the year.
Well, let me throw. Whoop.
What was that, Gator?
I was going to say something else. What about Kyle Shanahan and his culpability? I mean, he's the quarterback whisperer, and I'm sure he signed off on trading up to get him.
Yeah, I think his seat gets a little warm, too, if they don't win it all. I agree.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns are bringing back Brownie the Elf. That's right, Brownie the Elf. Look it up. It's a hilarious mascot. It was their original mascot, I believe. They're going to put a huge caricature of him right in the middle of the field on the 50-yard line. It's humongous. Guys, is this awesome or terrible?
I think it's the best. It's that it comes from that era where like the Sparty logo came from, and the little Wolver Bear with the sailor hat, which I think is Michigan's best logo. There's an era where there were so many cool logos put out in sports, the little caricature cartoons, and this is exactly what it is, and I love just about all of them. So, yeah, give me more of Brownie the Elf.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I think this is so awesome. I went and looked up that the logo this morning to check it out again, and I think it's amazing. And to know that actually it originated because of a Detroit company. Really? The Atlas Brewing Company, back in 1929, made a root beer that was really dark in color, and they used that logo to sell the root beer, and it it got shipped off to a plant in like Massillon, Ohio, and it got adopted by the Browns like 20 years later, 1949, I believe. This logo is amazing.
Yeah,
it's just great, and it's also not terribly unreminiscent of the lion logo that we love so much, with the lengthy, lean lion, the stalking lion with the two lines, the two racing stripes with it.
Yeah,
I think it's very similar.
it's a good look.
It is a good look.
Guys, this is fantastically bad. I mean, it's just terrible. It's funny, it's hilarious, and it's cute. This little brownie, this elf on the shelf, needs to stay elf on the shelf. They need to embrace the dog pound that's much cooler, tougher, meaner. That's what the Cleveland Browns are about. Get rid of the elf.
And there it is. That concludes the Wide 9 Omaha 4-Down Around the League Blitz thingy. We'll get to your open line calls next. Talk some college football at 11:05. Carson Anderson outside Comerica Park here on 97.1 The Ticket.
Here's another guy that I think has really good value. And it's diminishing a little bit because they know he's probably going to be released. It's the guy that's had 4 sacks, and that's Julian Okwara. I think he's going to be an odd man out.
Trade.
Has performed well, but yeah, you have from now until Tuesday to try and get something in return for Julian Okwara. Is there a receiver out there that you believe can give you another weapon, another option that maybe another team is looking, hey, we want to cut to, but we need somebody on the edge to rush the passer, not a starter, but a backup guy.
Yep.
Is there a deal to be made?
So you don't think Okwara is going to make the team if he's
Julian? I don't think so.
Okay.
7 edge rushers is tough.
I know, and I know the number crunch there, but man, owns Enrique potentially making the team and him not?
But again, it's different position.
I know it's different position. It's just wow.
a Milwaukee bar has something concocted for football season. They will pay your tab when the Jets lose a game started by Aaron Rodgers this season. Did you see this?
I did. I think it's awesome. I think it's genius.
Now, there's some stipulations,
yesterday you told
right,
us
Heather?
you
I know,
actually
like,
watched a
you're not
pretty good
comping your whole meal.
Right, you can't.
Today, you told me during a commercial break, last night you watched a terrible movie.
Terrible movie.
So here's the question. How long was this movie?
It was
like,
less than 2 hours. So
okay.
An hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, somewhere in there.
And did you watch the whole thing?
No, weed. Good God. Weed. My goodness.
Doug, you're already eating lunch? Jeez, it's early, man.
Jeez, this is terrible. I'm sorry, what was your question?
You said you watched.
Good God. Easy, brother.
You said you watched. Maybe you should watch it again. Maybe you'll like it more.
Give me a
Watch
minute.
it this afternoon.
No.
See if it makes you laugh. Okay, so last night you watched a terrible movie. Did you watch the whole thing?
No, I missed the first 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes of it.
And you started watching
Started watching it because it has a superstar, movie star. I mean, an absolute flat out, can't question he's a movie star.
Okay.
Or at least was a movie star.
And you committed.
Yeah.
But you never pulled the plug.
No, in fact, there were parts where at times when I wanted to switch over to something else, and because wrestling was on last night, but I taped wrestling while it was going on. I'd just keep going